got green bar, so it looks like we are live. Welcome back, guys. This is Darreck Kirby, aka DDP of the Dallas Prospect, joined here by my good buddy Enyi Nduka. Enyi, how are you doing, man?
I am doing good. It is free agency day. Happy free agency day, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying all the news that's coming down, all the Woj bombs, all the Stein lines, and everything like that. Basically, my fingers all kind of jacked up from refreshing my Twitter, but it's well worth it.
Yep.
I posed a question on my Twitter yesterday. I'm not sure if you got it or not.
I think I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. What is a better?
Wow, jumping right in with opinion.
We need Michael Beasley.
Shout out Gleh and Brian Cruz.
So
what
guys
was your
guys on the chat, answer this. What is a better a better off-season event? NFL draft or NBA free agency?
That's a good one. I think free agency, when it's a good class, is just chaos right off the bat. All right, so let me take a look here at settings. Start by bringing this a little closer here.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Yeah. So
I wasn't noticing that. Appreciate the feedback, people.
Yep. Let me see here.
I'm probably going to be on here for a while, so
yeah.
Let's just get everything right on the front end.
All right. So let me tweak these settings just a smidge here. Make sure we're all good to go. Yeah, I agree. When NBA free agency is a good class, it's just chaos when it begins.
Oh yeah.
Like last night, even before midnight, we had tons of news breaking, and I think that is something that puts it above NFL for me personally.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement too. As much as of a spectacle in NFL free agency, I mean NFL draft is, if you're not really plugged in, you're probably not going to know a lot of the players getting drafted, especially if they're like offensive linemen and stuff, because those type of players are not really featured as much as some of the star players like Calvin Ridley, or you have your top quarterbacks and all of them, or your top receivers.
Yeah.
But if you have free agency and you're headlined by, because every free agency has at least like one or two people that were headline the event. And could Orlando Magic sign Derrick Rose? Derrick Rose has already signed a year deal with Minnesota.
Yeah, so he's staying with the T-Wolves.
So maybe Isaiah Thomas. Actually, I said that last time I came on here. If I'm Orlando, I will probably try to get Isaiah Thomas. I know that is like the exact opposite of what they're trying to go for. They're trying to look for length and stuff like that. So Isaiah Thomas being as short as I am,
yeah,
which people tell me I'm too short to play pickup basketball. So Isaiah Thomas, although he's a good player, still I do not see Orlando possibly targeting him because they're just so in love with length right now. So that answers your question. But yeah, Derrick Rose he's already signed back with Minnesota as of yesterday. $2.1 million deal. Derrick Rose is definitely falling off. He's not the MVP Derrick Rose anymore. Hey, chat, go ahead and give us a shout if you can hear us a little better than in the beginning.
Yeah, I'll keep tinkering with the stuff, but let us know whenever you can hear us nice and clear. I'll adjust the mic a little bit, get us a little bit closer into the fray.
Get closer. Oh, get closer. So we're also, shout out, you think Sark Covington plus a pick or two will seal the deal for Kawhi?
No.
Nah, son.
We don't have any good picks to offer anyway.
Okay, thanks.
Cool.
Appreciate
Thanks,
Gleh.
Gleh.
Or Glee, or
I like saying Gleh.
Can you write
what, phonetically?
Phonetically. How do you say your name in the chat?
He's never corrected me on Gleh, and I just like saying it that way. But yeah,
what is your picture? Is that Dennis Smith as your?
I think so. Yeah.
Ah.
In the chat, it's just a little tiny picture, but
good man.
Yeah. So
what do y'all think? Okay. Never mind. Before I wanted to talk about this. So before we get into the Sark and Covington and all that Kawhi talk, we're actually going to have Ari Temkin calling in sometime While we're on live, if you guys don't know, Ari Temkin, he does a lot of work with
FANTOM.
For FANTOM. So shout out to FANTOM.
Also work with 105.3 The Fan here in
he
Dallas.
He does 105.3 The Fan. He jumps on the weekend shows sometimes with some of the other hosts up there.
Jared Sandler, and guys like that.
Yeah. Also, so I mean, he's really plugged in. Also has some background with ESPN down there in San Antonio. He knows a lot of what's going down with this whole Kawhi
there you go.
situation.
Glech has made his ruling.
All right, cool.
That is now the official way to say it in this chat.
You put a stamp on it, sir.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Ari's gonna come with a lot of fire about this Kawhi situation.
Yep.
So I cannot wait.
Yeah. Previously, he was with ESPN San Antonio before he started up FANTOM. So yeah, he's let's just say clued in on the Spurs, and he's got some opinions, I hear.
Yeah. Can't wait to have him on the show. It's gonna be it. So we're gonna hold off on Spurs talk and Kawhi talk. There until he comes in, and then you guys can bombard him with as much questions as you guys want. We're going to focus more heavily on the Mavs because we're all from Dallas, and if Darreck wants to hop in on some OKC talk because they got their guy. They gambled and they won, and sometimes that's what you have to do. They didn't have the most successful year last year, OKC, but the very fact that they have everybody coming back, more cohesiveness definitely means a better unit.
Health will be a huge thing for them. In December, when they had their starting five playing, it was something like from the start of December to mid-January when Andre Roberson tore his patella tendon.
Oh, yeah.
In that stretch, when they had their starting five, they were something like 15-0 or 16-1, something like that. I mean, they were gelling, and they looked like they were finally being that team that people thought they would be. But, George is a good defender, Paul George, but as much crap as even I give Roberson for his offensive game, he is a very, very good defender. And it was clear when suddenly George had to pull the main assignment and not the second toughest assignment that the team as a whole, both offensively and defensively, seemed to suffer a little bit for it.
Yeah. So, to piggyback off of what Darreck says, honestly, it makes sense. When you have a guy like Roberson, I know he's very limited offensively, but here's what you can do. You can definitely stick him on the main threat on the perimeter. Definitely gives Paul George, Russell Westbrook, some time to not necessarily rest, but not have to focus so much energy on defense.
Yep.
So they can definitely produce from the offensive end. So definitely Roberson going down. Is it Robertson or Roberson?
Roberson.
Roberson.
I mean, you could really say either way. It's said both ways all the time, just like people say Nowitzki or Nowitzki.
Yeah, it's Nowitzki. So definitely Robinson going down. I'm just gonna call them both. It was a big blow to OKC, because imagine him in the playoffs, he probably wouldn't have been guarding Donovan Mitchell, and it definitely went through him for a loop because Donovan, as good as he is, he's also a rookie. He's first time playing the playoffs. Roberson.
He would have done a little more, I think, to stifle him, but I don't think it changes the outcome of that series necessarily.
They went down in 7. I think it does.
No, it didn't. They went down in 5.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, bad.
It was not that close.
Gosh.
Hopefully
they do better next year.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the thing about that too is, the only real negative impact the Thunder have had so far this offseason was Melo opting into that $27 million or $27.8 million. And that sucks. But here's the thing. I don't consider it a bust, especially now that they kept George, because when they traded for Carmelo, when he officially signs Gle, not yet. We're still technically in the verbal territory, who knows?
We could pull DeAndre from 3 years ago.
Yeah, the emoji war of 2015 could still be raging on.
Yep.
But when they traded for Carmelo last year, Paul George, they got him first. His reaction was that he was impressed with the franchise because he said it proved that they will do whatever it takes to win and to make the team better. It had a big impact on him in that regard. So even though you had that crazy party last night in Arcadia, Oklahoma, where it was like at 12:01 or something. It was like 500 people. You had to sign like a non-disclosure agreement just to get in.
As soon as I saw that tweet that people had to sign NDAs, I was like, he's staying.
Yeah, and so Russ flew back from a family vacation in Hawaii 8 hours that day to put that together. They had Nas there performing, and the thing with that too is Melo. This says a lot, but Melo is a huge fan of Nas. And he wasn't at the event last night. So that has to say something about kind of how Russ and PG are feeling about that whole thing.
About Carmelo?
Yeah, and I think the writing's on the wall because
Melo's coming off the bench.
So yeah, well, even more than that. I mean, so here's the thing: with Paul George now signed up for 4 years, $137 million.
Crazy. And
they re-signed Jeremy Grant 3 for $27. That's another very good utility signing as well.
Yep.
They have 11 players under contract at $156 million plus. With a 14-man roster, you're looking at, because of mid-level exceptions, like 161, plus the repeater tax of $155 million. That's a $316 million total at the end of the year. Carmelo Anthony, if they can stretch out, like basically buy him out, stretch that out,
provision, yep.
Yep. They would save $91 million in taxes.
$91 million.
They have every incentive to move on from him. The fact that he wasn't there, I mean, it makes sense for both sides, frankly. He'll still get his money if they do that, and OKC can move on to do something different. But the fact, like I said, that he wasn't there at the thing, that signals everything to trying to win his wife back. That signals everything to me about his future with OKC.
Is that Lala?
Yeah.
Anyway.
The only thing I was going to say left on that, I don't consider the Melo trade a bad trade, even though on the court it didn't work out, because it was, I think, a huge thing in convincing Paul George to re-sign as well. Just like if Paul George had left, I would have been like, well, I don't consider it a bust because it's a chance you got to take, and it convinced Russ to sign up that new massive deal.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your 1-2 punch in one offseason where you re-upped two guys you really wanted to, and now you just got to try and figure out how to get out of Melo. If that's the only thing you take, but you add those two foundational pieces, this will be their first offseason in like 4 years where they don't have just panic over a major guy leaving.
True.
Russ, Steven Adams, and Paul George are all locked up for at least the next 3 years.
Nice.
So that's really good for them.
Peace of mind.
Yep. But moving on from OKC, that's the Thunder Talk portion of this.
Mm-hmm.
Trying not to show my bias too much.
So for the major move, this is kind of the headline for us. So around 12:00, it was probably around 12:10 yesterday. Or this morning, the Mavericks, they got their guy. The guy we've been trying to get for a long time. So DeAndre Jordan signs a 1-year, $24.1 million deal to stay, or not to stay, but to go to the Mavericks.
Yep.
Basically, the same exact deal he would have opted into if he would have opted in his last year with the Clippers. Thoughts?
So with the signing of that, they tried to trade for him first to take in that last year. The word was that he was going to opt into that final year to get paid a little over $24 million.
It was 24.1 literally.
Okay, yeah. So to get paid that money, and when that kind of fell through, I was really worried because I was like, oh no, because the word was that the Mavericks were going to go get him. And I think I even said, like, in the comments, like, oh, God, no, they're going to go give him, like, a 4 or 5 year deal. They're going to, like, basically try to run out there and max him out or something. I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. He's 29. You don't want a 33, 34-year-old DeAndre Jordan making 30-plus million or something crazy, And thankfully, they did not go that route. Instead, they basically, I guess they had essentially, like, a gentleman's agreement. Like, hey, you'll sign with us free agent, you'll literally get that 1 year, $24 million. That way you don't have to be long-term. That way you don't have to be, if he works out 1 year, because he's tight with Durant. The Warriors were reportedly trying to get in on getting him, and all they would have been able to give him is like a $5.4 million mid-level exception or something. But if you want to go just guarantee a title, basically that's the way to go. So maybe that's still a future option for him, but for now, he's getting his 1 year, $24 million. Dallas gets the stopgap they need. I honestly would have been okay even if it had been a 2-year deal, like a 1-1 with a player option.
Yep. Dallas 2019 NBA champions. This is actually, I mean, for me, awesome deal. we get a chance to kind of date before we marry if they want to sign him, just like I think you were saying in your video earlier today.
Oh, you were watching?
I did. I peeked in a little bit.
How nice.
I was part of one of those 80-something people that was in the chat.
Yeah, man, we were popping.
Yep. So, I mean, definitely, I heard this being described as we get to date him before we get to marry him, or something like that. So this deal can be beneficial. He's probably not going to be super long term, but maybe if everything works out, we could probably sign him to another 2-year deal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for the meantime, this definitely makes the team more exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Next year. Doesn't make them a playoff team.
No, not
yet. But it's a step in the right
direction.
In terms of getting to the play, if you want to get back into the playoffs, because I still have my hang-ups about what Dallas is doing. Because if it was up to me, we'll probably still invest some years in getting some younger talent and developing younger talent, aka tanking.
Sounds like that's not in their plans, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So they just
they said that they don't appear to be too interested in next year's draft class. They think it's going to be a bad draft class, and they don't think there's value in doing that. And that's why they turned down the offer that would have sent Wes instead, and took the one that gave a first-round pick.
Yeah. So, I do think so. I mean, we have a lot of success. Carlisle has a lot of success with rim rollers and shot blockers, even though his numbers were down last year.
Brandon Wright, Tyson Chandler.
Yeah, his numbers were down last year, but I don't really put too much stock into it. Because
but he still had 15 boards a game. Yeah, that's the main thing they want. No, that was pretty high for him.
Defensively,
on rebounds. Shot blocking absolutely was down. He was under 1 a game.
Yeah.
Points 12, I think that was a little down as well. But yeah, I mean, again, for a stopgap, it makes sense because there's not anything in that regard. He addresses the 2 major needs for them, and he works as a good stopgap in that regard, where it's just something you plug in for now and you can reassess moving forward without tying yourself down.
Yeah.
I think someone in the comments earlier when I posted about it on Facebook, they put it a good way. The way they put it was saying essentially like a 1-year deal to determine if you want a commitment or something is like going on 1 date before getting married.
Yeah.
To which I say, would you rather get married with the girl that broke your heart without at least like double checking and making sure that's actually going to work this time? Like it makes sense to take at least the 1-year deal. And I think 2 I would have been maybe open to, but I don't want to think about 33, 34-year-old DeAndre Jordan in a Maverick uniform.
Yeah, one-way type player, even though...
especially with his way being the opposite of where the league is headed.
Yeah, very much so. I definitely seen videos of him trying to incorporate a more mid-range type game.
Okay.
Definitely we'll see how that works out. Maybe Carlisle can... This would be a tall task. But maybe Carlisle can pull something out, and maybe he can hit some 15-foot jumpers.
I think at 29, we've kind of already seen the ceiling of the guy.
Hey man, just have some faith.
Yeah, he'll catch a bunch of lobs from Dennis Smith and Luka Doncic.
Yep.
And on top of that, he'll block some shots and grab a lot of rebounds. That's what I want.
He'll get his numbers up. He's in a place that he wants to be. He actually wants to be here. I suspect his numbers in terms of blocking went down. Because he obviously didn't want to be here.
Rangers King 669 with the question: if we don't re-sign DeAndre Jordan, how do you feel about getting Miles Turner in 2019? Yes, I see your question, Rangers King.
Yeah. I mean, Miles Turner's a good player. He's from the Texas area. I'm not sure if it's Dallas. Is it Dallas?
Maybe. I mean, it's general area, but I don't know how close.
Let's go ahead and just get everyone that's from Dallas and put him back here. I mean, that's what LA is trying to do. But yeah, I mean, he'll be a good player, shot blocker, shoots threes, so definitely wouldn't mind plugging him in here. But I think he has a good thing going on with Indiana, but we shall see.
Yeah.
In 2019. No, you good, Rangers Kings?
Rangers King.
I thought it was Rangers Skin, bro.
I said that the first time earlier. I was like, Ranger Skin, wait. No, you're good, Rangers King. Dallas more than likely going to use their remaining $5 million in cap to re-sign Dirk. Yes, that's probably what'll happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a yawn. Dirk already opted out of the deal for this specific reason. So yeah, they're gonna bring Dirk back.
No, yeah, they're gonna use that. They have a exception, so they're probably gonna use that on Dirk. They're gonna see what they can probably find with trying to trades they can get with Wes Matthews. So they're definitely gonna be calling around, seeing what's next. I mean, what they can get. But here's a good thing about having Wes Matthews in his expiring deal is you don't necessarily need to move him now. You can wait till February when it's towards the trade deadline. Definitely hit up those contending teams because Wes Matthews is the type of player that every contending team needs. Some guy that can hit threes, some guys that can guard perimeter defenders. So definitely he has value. Even though his 1 year deal is a little high for 18 something million, but it's only expiring deal. So people who are looking to win championships and who are probably so far down in the draft, so they're probably picking anywhere from like 25. They're probably willing to trade that if Dallas wants to get back in the first round. If they do, who cares? If they don't, really.
Let's see.
Who cares again?
Don't even know how to say your name. DECTVW. I'm just gonna spell it out. Next move for the Mavs. For me, I want Seth Curry.
Yeah, locking up Seth Curry. That's probably.
And I bet they can get him. Mavs will likely re-sign Dirk with the remaining cap space. So, what does that imply?
Your boy Claw dropping the news. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. But I think if they let go of Seth, I'll be highly upset because I'm already upset that they lost Doug McDermott. He was the Al-Farouq Aminu of a couple of years ago. I mean, basically, minute one of free agency, we'll give you 3 years for $22 million. He's like, done.
Yeah, I mean, well, Doug McDermott's bounced around a lot.
Yeah,
so like he's moved all around. He was Bulls, Thunder, Knicks, Mavericks. Now he's on to his fifth team.
And how long has he been in the league?
Like 5-6 years.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, he was only with Chicago for a couple of years, and he was with the Knicks for about a year and a half. Those are his longest tenures anywhere, I think.
And he's from that Chicago area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, in his case, I get it. It's fully guaranteed for him to go. I would like to keep Curry. I think you could get him very cheap since he missed all of last year, and he's already shown he can.
So
fit
that's
here.
something we can't do. Yeah, since we have so many point guards with the addition of Brunson, and we have JJ, we can cut Yogi's cap hold by renouncing his rights. Definitely waive Kyle Collinsworth because no, I don't want him on the team. As cool as a guy he was, I'm sure, but nah, son. That'll give us a little bit of room. Try to get Seth for something a little, financially friendly for the Mavs. I mean, 1 year deal, most likely as a, hey, I know you were hurt all last year, just kind of a prove it deal. You like Yogi?
Yogi's a free agent, right?
He's restricted. Yeah, he's a restricted free agent. But at any time you can renounce his rights.
Yeah. I mean, they did that with Salah, Mejri, and who else did they do that with? Doug.
They did that with Doug.
That backfired.
They don't necessarily need. They don't necessarily need to do that before free agency starts. They can do that at any time.
Yeah.
So, that's probably going to be the likely option because with the signing of DeAndre Jordan, that cap room kind of went away.
So, who are some 3-point shooters you could see us trying to still add other than Curry at this point?
Oh man,
because I was asked that on my last stream and I was like,
so the problem with
I gotta have the list in front of me of who's even available right now.
So the problem with this free agency, it's very, very top heavy. Not a great amount of 3-point shooters. I mean, the only one I could think of is probably Aaron Aflalo. He shot 30. Something like 38%.
What's his age though? He's got to have a lot of mileage on him now.
I mean, of course, he's very old. I have it pulled up right here.
Aaron Aflalo is.
He's probably 33.
32. Wow, not near as old as I thought, but feels like a ton of mileage.
Yeah, a ton of miles.
Because, I mean, I swear there was like 5 years in a row the Thunder tried to acquire him at the deadline, and it never happened. And so I just was like, under the assumption he was at least 34, 35.
Yeah, he shot.
It's kind of like a Luol Deng. You think he's older than he is because he's been around for like 100 years.
Oh, man. I remember Luol Deng was a freaking all-star. It wasn't too long ago.
Yep.
But yeah, he shot 38%, 38.6%, so you can almost round it up to 39. Last year from the three. If you're looking for a three-point shooter, I know
we got a Heat fan in here.
JJ Redick, I think he's a free agent. I'm not sure because he signed a 1-year deal with the 76ers last year.
Yeah, for like $22 million or something, right?
But he's probably going to be way too expensive.
No, he'll be too expensive for what they have available.
Trevor Reeves went to the Suns.
1 year, $15 million, I think.
I mean, Luke Babbitt, but he's just trash. What's his name? Who was the first person? Who made up Michael Beasley? Boom, there you go.
Brian Cruz, yeah. Beasley would be good for a second unit.
Yeah.
Wayne Ellington, we tried that once before. Wayne Ellington.
He there? I mean, he definitely stepped up with the Heat.
He says he's with the Heat, and this is the Heat guy in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Shout out Rodney.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely. So here's what we're gonna probably looking to do. If you listen to 105.3 The Fan, they use this term a lot, which is the fallen angels.
Glenn Robinson.
The fallen angels type thing. So Michael Beasley will probably go into the fallen angels category.
Yeah.
Someone that the league is probably giving up on that we can bring in as a flyer.
It's a weird nickname, by the way. It kind of like seems like it suggests like Lucifer. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, he shot 39% last year from the three. He's like 6'10", I believe, or 6'9".
Sounds right.
There.
Yeah.
I can definitely see him probably playing for the Mavericks and for cheap as well. But there's just not a lot of guys out there. There's really not. As you said, Glenn Robinson III. No disrespect, but F the Heat. Hey man, hey,
we got him back. We're moved on from that.
Yeah, just know that. So 06, that was a inside job.
We don't live in the past anymore. We can move
Obviously,
on.
with the signing of DeAndre Jordan, that means we can get over stuff. Okay, Dallas fans.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little, assuming he actually follows through and actually signs this time. It's gonna be awkward at first, I think, but
I don't think so.
The organization won't have it be awkward. I think the fans are gonna feel awkward, especially being a 1-year deal. Who's gonna go out there and buy a DeAndre Jordan Mavs jersey?
That's true.
Like, no one's gonna want to buy it. They know the drill. He's a 1-year stopgap, and fans are gonna remember what he did in 2015. No one's gonna want to buy his stuff. But if my contention is that if he's going out there, he's blocking shots, grabbing like a dozen or more boards a game, and throwing down vicious dunks from alley-oops from Doncic and Dennis Smith Jr. and JJ Barea and the like, then people are gonna get over that pretty quick, at least in terms of the cheering.
As soon as he throws down the first one, we'll get over it.
You think there's like a reflex or something when they announce his name opening night? As soon as the crowd hears DeAndre Jordan, they start like, boo! I mean, yeah.
Nah, I think actually the city of Dallas kind of got over that quick. We had the first game, the first couple of games.
Yeah. After
that first year, we kind of just went around away.
Glenn Robinson signing with Detroit, says Rodney.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's literally, there's not a lot of people. So
this is a very top-heavy free agency we were saying earlier. Let's see here. Yeah, Wayne Ellington was a Maverick before and a not super impactful one at that. Thaddeus Young, that's interesting.
I think I heard him signing with somebody.
I think you're right. Yeah,
I'm not quite sure, but
I'll stall while you look this up on our trusty Google machine.
Thaddeus Young, he's a 6'8" power forward. He went to. I'm just playing.
I was like, wow, you're looked that up
fast.
fast.
Yeah, there you go. Wait, GR3 signed a 2-year, $8.3 million deal confirmed by Shams. Shams is plugged in, bruh. He's like up there.
I liked when he called out the Enes Kanter opting into his deal, and Kanter hit him back though with like, "Dude, I haven't even decided yet." He's like, "I literally have no decision."
You ain't gonna get that money anywhere else, bro. You opting in.
Yeah.
So
who knows, man? The Knicks could look to move on from him potentially. You never know. You never know. In which case he gets paid. Hey, maybe he has a Thunder reunion at the mid-level. Yay, their desperate need is backup center.
Okay, they picked up
player option.
See,
okay,
yeah, appreciate. Chat is on it. There are so many moves that went on. Like I just know names.
Our audience is so well plugged in.
what you guys?
Tyreek Evans gonna sign with the Warriors. Do we think he will?
No.
Probably not.
They don't really have a lot of cap.
No, I mean, how old is he? He's not very old.
He's
right?
old.
No, then he doesn't have to chase a ring yet. If usually the guys who chase rings like that, whether it's the LeBron Heat or now the Warriors, it's usually the guys like the David West and guys like that who are up there and chasing something they've not gotten yet.
Exactly, and whose names are up there at the prime of the year. So David West was a dude who was
Memphis. That's why they let go of what was it? No, that's why they didn't do it. Right, I talked about that in one of the Parsons videos. That was why they were reportedly willing to give up the first, is because they were trying to open up the cap room to throw all the money at Tyreek to try and keep him and to push the Parsons contract off their books so they could afford it, but that didn't happen.
Nope, didn't. I don't see Tyreek trying to ring chase or anything like that. The one I would
watch
see,
he'll go to Houston instead.
Who?
Tyreek. I was just
Tyreek,
throwing that out
probably,
there. It's just
that
seems to be it. People, if they're like, I have a little respect, I won't go to the Warriors. I'll just go to the next team.
The one person that I can actually see, this would be just glorious, going to the Golden State Warriors, will be Dwight Howard, because
I think that happens.
Then that will be the end of the Warriors.
When I did a video breaking down, I did 2 videos. I don't know if you saw the second one, but I did not see the 2 videos breaking down. Really, it was front court because I did have Randall in the first one, so it wasn't a center option. It was front court. But I did another one on that, and someone in the comments kept bringing up Dwight, so I threw him in there just to talk about it. I'm like, again, not who I want, not what we need, but it was thrown out there as a what if, so I'm addressing it. But yeah, I think he, not the Warriors necessarily. I mean, they have interest too, but the report is that he wants to go to the Warriors. And honestly, at that point, you think about it, I mean, in terms of on-court talent, they won a freaking title with JaVale McGee as like the starting center. Like if you can win with JaVale McGee and you get to upgrade that to Dwight Howard, you'll be fine.
Rodney Ramneville.
Nice.
Spates, nearing a lucrative deal with
I'm trying to think of the equivalent of a Rodney bomb.
So Rodney, exactly. That's hilarious.
Sugar Daddy, I think you just want me to say your name, so shout out Sugar Daddy.
What do you guys
Mr.
think?
Francisco.
You guys think Seth will stay with the Mavs? I think so. He had a very good year with the Mavs. That was probably his best year, his best shot. Best shot of probably standing
coming
out.
off that injury too. He needs a good 1 year or 2 year deal.
Oh yeah, and I mean, he definitely needs that prove it deal. So I think it'll be a 1 year deal.
Who all did he play with before us? I know he was with Sacramento right before us, but before that he was like New Orleans, right? I think it was New Orleans when they were.
I think it was probably drafted by, or he was probably picked up initially up because he wasn't drafted.
Well, he's a guy. So the point I was trying to get at with that,
he did some stints with Golden State as well.
Oh, all right.
He played with their D League team.
He is not. The point is stuck anywhere yet in his career. The closest to a place that he's really established himself as someone who could have a main roster role and a significant contributor is with the Mavericks. So I would hope on that, and how badly the Mavericks need 3-point shooting, I would hope Dallas is smart enough to follow up on that. But then again, if there's anyone who knows the best about his injury and how healthy he is, it's them. We've seen them dodge a couple bullets regarding their concerns with stuff. They avoided Michael Porter because they ultimately were, they want to compete now, and they were not content with a guy who might have to sit out a whole year.
Opening up old wounds, bro.
I'm not trying to dig into that too much. I'm just stating I know you were super high on him, so was I. You definitely were on the philosophy or the belief that they needed to go one more year of basically being in the lottery.
1 or 2.
They 2. If we're 4 years in the lottery, something has gone horribly wrong. I was willing to jump on board with 1 more year, and that was like, hey, let's try early on, and if something doesn't look good around the midway point, then we start reevaluating. Kind of like what they did last year. The first part of the year, they just unintentionally sucked.
That's funny.
10 years ago, yeah. 2 years. Wow. Read out that.
All right, so there's a picture. So if I can paint this correctly, so there's 2 panels to this picture. On the top panel, it says 2 years ago, it's the Clippers team. It has Paul Pierce, Austin Rivers, DeAndre Jordan, J.J. Redick, Blake Griffin, Jamal Crawford. I don't even know who that guy is in the back. Oh, Wesley Johnson.
Yep.
And Chris Paul. And now, in the front is Coach Doc Rivers. And now it's just Doc Rivers. Take that.
I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you had the whole emoji war thing, and what ended up happening after that, even last year, was you had all the people involved, like in the holdout. It was like Paul Pierce, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and I think there was one other player. Redick. It was all of them basically who did the quote unquote abduction, kidnapping, whatever, to make DeAndre reconsider. And like 2 years later, all of them were gone, and it was just DeAndre. And that's when you would see the like Fresh Prince meme with DeAndre in the living room, like, what? How come no one wants me, man?
Exactly. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely life comes at you fast. That's what it says. That's what someone else said. Man. So trying to look at
KCP.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything on him.
Oh no, that's just Rodney tossing it out there as he'd be a good move for Dallas.
He would be too expensive.
I think he would be too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good D and 3 guy. He can't make any free throws or shoot threes, but he can spread the floor. Sugar Daddy with his scouting report on KCP. No, I mean he'll definitely be too expensive. If not, that means he probably didn't play. I didn't really keep up with him last year with the Lakers. So, wait, Lakers got 5 take for Potter. Didn't even give Magic Johnson a meeting. It wasn't worth it. Oh man, what an interesting day it is to be a Laker fan.
Yeah. They still got their shot at LeBron, although it's looking like it's kind of in jeopardy since the Lakers aren't pushing
I
super
should have
hard.
freaking bet.
They aren't even pushing that hard for the Kawhi trade, and that was like understood to be you had to get a different major domino before LeBron was the word.
So basically, you're trading literally for Kawhi and LeBron, and I'd be willing to trade just about everything if I was the Lakers. But I was about to put $100 down that LeBron would stay in Cleveland, and
I don't think he stays in Cleveland.
I think it's a real chance. I think it's a real chance now because his
well, what do they
options
have
are
around him?
What are they going to have around him if he goes to Lakers and they can't trade for Kawhi?
I mean, they have still more there than they have in Cleveland. LeBron basically dragged.
They're younger, but he can still
younger with more assets, and it's easier to bring people to LA than it is to bring them to Cleveland.
I don't know, man. Lakers ain't. The fact that it's LA, whatever. But if you want to win, you can play with LeBron. You have a good chance of playing. So regardless of where LeBron's playing, he could be playing a freaking.
So while we're going into LeBron anyway, so what do you think? Like, what do you think he ends up? You said Cleveland.
I mean, I was willing to bet because the payoff was going to be good.
Okay.
But I still think LA is still the spot because when it gets down to it, they can give the Spurs whatever they can. And I'm trying not to dive deep into this because I'm not sure what Ari's availability is looking like. But I think when it gets down to it, the Lakers are going to be willing to give the Spurs whatever it takes to.
Ennis Cantor, I love this game.
Ennis Cantor talks a lot of crap.
I know, but I love it. Like he's still pro Thunder, even though he's not even here anymore.
Because LeBron and Ben Simmons. Let's hold off on that. But
we'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah. So Paul. I mean, because what it will take to probably get that Kawhi trade, you'll probably need to trade Ingram. Mm-hmm. You'll probably need to trade Kuzma. You'll probably need to trade Josh Hart.
Yep.
You'll probably need to trade a couple of picks. I'm not sure about Lonzo Ball because I'm not even sure the Spurs would even want Lonzo Ball because they have a pretty good point guard with, I don't even know the guy's name, but I just know he was like first team or something, all defense or something like that.
Yeah.
He's actually really good.
I mean, they have certainly a shot, but I think ultimately the Spurs aren't going to be super interested in trading him in the Western Conference. Kind of like when the Lakers were trading Shaq, they refused the Western Conference unless Dallas was willing to give up Dirk in the deal.
Unbelievable, heck no.
I'm just saying that's what it was.
Yeah,
and so that's why he went east, and
So with LeBron James going to Philly, that's definitely the report. Philly is very. They think they have a really good chance in landing Kawhi and trading for him.
My problem with Philly in the LeBron pursuit is they aren't even getting LeBron in the meeting. It's his representatives who are meeting with.
But
Philly.
LeBron's not really meeting with anybody.
He's meeting with the Lakers.
LeBron face to face with the Lakers.
That's what I read earlier.
I mean, he's in LA. I was under the opinion that he's not really meeting face to face with anybody. He's probably going to be on the phone with them. But everyone's just meeting with the reps, and that's it. My problem with what Philly's trying to do, and I get it, they're trying to get themselves over the top. But I feel like they're, if I'm Philly, I'm staying away from LeBron.
So how, even if they did get him though, how do you think he and Simmons would play together? Because both are ball dominant.
They can't.
And Simmons is not an outside shooter.
Exactly. That's going to be the problem. So when we got the Chris Paul trade to Houston, everyone was like, "How is that going to work?"
Yeah.
The good thing about both of them, they're both able to be threats beyond the be champions. But Chris Paul and James Harden are both threats beyond the arc.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you get LeBron on the 76ers, LeBron's going to be ball dominant. Ben Simmons is going to be ball dominant. LeBron's shot's definitely not as strong as, although he is capable of hitting from beyond the arc. Ben Simmons is still trying to develop that. He's definitely not a three-point shooter. So it'll definitely be an interesting fit. And now if they have to trade Saric and Robert Covington, then to get Kawhi Leonard, now you're trading multiple people who can hit the shot beyond the arc to get one person who can hit the shot beyond the arc, and to get LeBron James. So it'll be a weird fit. I know Embiid can hit.
Yeah, Philly's trying to be really bold with this. They're not trying to just add LeBron. They're trying to add Kawhi too.
And LeBron. It'll just be a weird fit because they're not willing to throw Fultz in the deal, and Fultz can't even get his shoulder above his head to even shoot the ball.
You know all those videos that he was posting of him working out and everything, and just how slick and like just smooth he looked in his motion. I noticed not a lot of shooting in those videos.
Oh yeah, no,
a lot of ball handling, a lot of like layups and stuff. Not a lot of outside shooting.
They're keeping his shot under wrap. They're not even letting him play in the summer league.
That's like one of the more baffling stories, man. Like how that could happen to a guy who could shoot before.
Exactly. So if I'm Philly, I'm definitely. If I'm a smart Philly person, I'm keeping away from LeBron because I've seen too many good players definitely get devalued when playing with LeBron. We saw that with Chris Bosh. When Chris Bosh
was not third banana anymore.
Yeah, he was definitely really one of your best power forwards in the league when he was in Toronto. Paired him up with LeBron, he was basically a joke. Like people were making fun of him and stuff like that on Twitter. It was pretty baffling. And then we saw that with Kevin Love. Kevin Love is a 2020 guy in Minnesota, and I know that wasn't a very good team, but he came to the Cleveland playing with LeBron. And he was delegated to just, hey, stay in the corner and shoot when I give you the ball. Yeah, basically it. So how is that going to look for this when you have a young talent playing with LeBron? Because LeBron's not going to come in and just be like, hey, you guys are going to run the show. I'm just going to be.
Well, he wants to play more off ball, I think.
LeBron?
Yeah, I mean that. Ruben's called that out a couple times too. Wait, was it Ruben or was it? Sorry, that was Rodney, not Ruben. Rodney said that earlier in the chat as well. I remember reading that too, that he does want to play more off ball. That's kind of why I think I don't know how Houston could get back into the mix, but they've had said their top priority was LeBron. Yet I've not heard them mention with him yet in free agency since it started. They did give Chris Paul a 4-year, $160 million deal. You got to wonder at some point how financially they make all that work with Harden getting nearly $200 million, Paul getting $160 million. Like how do you work all that in? Oh, looks like we got Ari here. 1 second. Here, talk for a sec while I.
All right. Hey, so we're gonna have Ari Temkin in. Just like I said before, he's definitely a plugged-in dude in the San Antonio area. He does a lot of work with 105.3 The Fan here in Dallas with the weekend shows. Did some work with ESPN San Antonio. very plugged in with the whole Spurs situation. So we're going to go ahead. Darreck is working on getting him to hop in. And you guys hopefully will hear him in our chat. And we're going to go ahead and ask him some stuff with that's going on down there in San Antonio. And
hey, all right.
Get ready to
we got
get
Ari on
educated.
here. Can you hear Ari?
Yeah, I can hear Ari, man. Ari, how you doing, sir?
Gentlemen, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How's it down there in San Antonio?
I think he's in town in Dallas right now. No, I don't know. Where are you at, Ari? Are you in Dallas or San Antonio? I always get it flipped.
I was in Dallas yesterday. I'm in San Antonio today, and it's hot, just like it is in Dallas.
Yeah. Were you in Dallas for the wiffle ball tournament?
Yeah, I was out at the wiffle ball tournament yesterday at the Pegasus Lawn, and then I was hosted with Lane Lewis from 3 to 7:30 last night. So
awesome. Cool.
Hosting a 4.5-hour show in 100-degree heat.
You guys are actually outside too, were you not?
Yeah, wiffle ball.
Yeah.
Man. Hey,
but that's a really cool area by the Omni out there, and it was a really cool event. A lot of people showed up. In fact, so they had a tournament for teams. They had 30 teams, and they signed up 30 teams within like 20 minutes of announcing that tournament. So
oh, wow.
I think they're going to expand it in a big way next year and have hundreds of teams potentially, because they sold that thing out. Because they can only have 30 teams because the Pegasus Lawn there can only fit the 3 fields they had. So
oh, wow.
It was really cool, though.
Awesome. All right, man. So the moment we all been waiting for, I definitely
we've been trying to avoid Kawhi talk until we got you on.
Tonight. And I've been trying because I really I'm not super informed because I'm down here paying attention to what the Dallas Mavericks are doing. But go ahead, educate us, man. What's going down over there in San Antonio in regards with Kawhi?
Well, I mean, Kawhi is not going to be with the Spurs anymore. The only question now is where. I think the 76ers are starting to make a late push, and sort of the latest rumblings, at least, seem to link LeBron and Kawhi to Philadelphia, which is a big shocker to me. Mm-hmm. Considering I just always thought that Kawhi would end up with the Lakers simply because that's where he wants to go, and I thought the Lakers would probably offer the best package.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends. I mean, if Philadelphia offers Fultz, Saric, and future first-round picks in Covington, and Lakers offer Ingram, Kuzma, and future first-round picks, I would certainly go with the Lakers selection over Philadelphia's. But if Philadelphia wants to include Simmons, now we've got a different story altogether. And so I think that's what the Spurs want. They don't want Saric; they want Simmons. I think it just comes down to whether or not the Sixers want to give up Ben Simmons. But certainly I would think that they'd be in better position to get LeBron if they ended up with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And same with the Lakers. But, yeah, I mean, Kawhi, I don't really know if he really understands what this means. If, let's just say, Philadelphia 76ers trade Ben Simmons to the Spurs for Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard has more drama, and he pulls this crap that he pulled with the Spurs this year, those Philadelphia fans will eat him alive. Eat him alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he's spoken publicly twice in the last 10 months as controversy surrounded him. He made $20 million last year to play in 9 games, completely removed himself from the franchise. I'm all about doing things within your own best self-interest. I'm never going to disparage anybody that in pro sports anywhere that does anything for their own best self-interest. Everybody should do that. But I also think there's a way to do things, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell Kawhi how he should and shouldn't act. But it's a joke what he did with the Spurs last year. If you want to go, don't just remove yourself from the franchise entirely while they're paying your salary and while you're still a part of a team. It was a disgrace, I think, what he did this past year. And look, at the end of the day, he's going to end up in Philadelphia or Los Angeles, and either of those places, if he pulls this, it's going to be a different story. In San Antonio, it's not as combative with the media and with the fans, and it is in those cities, especially Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
major markets. Is
Boston out of the running on that? That was another team I heard was really interested in him for a while. I haven't heard as much on them lately the past couple days, though.
It kind of depends, I think, on what Kawhi is telling those teams about, long term.
Uh-huh.
And I suppose there's rumors that that Leonard would sign a long-term deal with Philadelphia. I think Boston's reluctant because they, I don't think Boston wants to give up Jaylen Brown don't think Jaylen, they're going to trade Jaylen Brown unless they know Kawhi's going to be there long term. And look, I mean, look what just happened with Paul George. So, maybe you take a risk, and you get him to stay because you provide a good culture and they're winning and he's happy and he's in a big city and all that good stuff. But, I think, I always thought he'd end up in LA because that's where he wants to go, and I figured they'd offer the best package. But, I guess we'll see. I mean, to me, it'll take Ben Simmons to get the deal done with Philly, and it'll take Jaylen Brown to get the deal done with the Sixers or the Celtics.
I also heard in regards with the Celtics trade that they're willing to throw in Kyrie Irving. What does San Antonio think about that? I know he's been linked to New York Knicks when his deal is done. I know he's come out forth and said that he's not willing to commit long term as of right now with the Celtics. So is that something that interests San Antonio? Definitely answer that.
I think the Celtics have tried to offer Kyrie for Kawhi straight up. I think that's the deal they want that doesn't give up young assets, and I think the Spurs want young assets. I mean, I think Kyrie would love San Antonio. I think he'd fit perfectly. I think he'd work well with Pop. But I just don't know that that's what the Spurs are looking for. First of all, they not to say that DeJounte Murray is better than Kyrie Irving. I mean, Kyrie Irving is still one of the best point guards in the NBA, but I think they like what they have at developing DeJounte Murray. They drafted a few years ago out of Washington, and so I think they're sort of firm on competing now, but also adding young assets to sort of build a young powerhouse, if you will. And I mean, they re-signed Rudy Gay. They're bringing back Marco Bellinelli.
Oh yeah. Saw that last night.
So they're with the Mavs and maybe some of these other teams competing kind of, the bottom half of the playoff seeds in the East Western Conference, where you look at the Golden State and Houston and who knows how Oklahoma City will be in year 2 of this experiment, what they're going to do with Melo and all that stuff. But the Mavs are there, the Spurs are there. I mean, I think they're all sort of chasing Golden State, even probably Houston. Houston lost to Ariza. Chris Paul's another year older. So, it's going to be interesting. I think, again, I think the Spurs really want young assets. I don't think they want Kyrie Irving, and I think they're going to end up either trading him to Lakers, unless the Sixers do include Simmons, which I don't know if they would or why they would, unless they know they're going to get Kawhi, which means they know they're going to get LeBron.
Right. Yeah, I saw the Sixers are trying to figure out some way to keep, there's no way they can keep all of these core assets, but what was it? It was like Fultz, Simmons.
Fultz, Simmons, and Embiid,
of course.
Yeah. They're young, I guess, big three.
So the 76ers are meeting with LeBron's representatives, and part of that is they're trying to convince him they think that they can get Kawhi without giving up those major assets. And I don't see how that would appeal to San Antonio because, like you said, the Lakers have a better offer than that. The Celtics have the ability to give a better offer than that. They've got a ton of number 1 picks still stashed up. I think they got 4 picks in the next couple. Yeah.
Some really good young talent too.
And the talent, So Boston, if they want to be in the mix, seems like they could absolutely be. But if the 76ers, I don't know what they really have to offer if they're not willing to part with at least one of those young players like a Ben Simmons. So Lakers feels like the likely one, and if the Lakers do get him, then that probably does signal LeBron to L.A.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I can understand Philadelphia, trying to maximize the young assets, but I mean, the Spurs at the same time are sort of trying to figure out a way to, to leverage how great Kawhi has been. And look, I still think there's major concerns about Kawhi, not just the injury, but the injury history. I mean, he's never played more than 60 games an entire season. And he's, he sat out the entire, he's got all these other extracurricular sort of distractions. This is a guy that throughout the course of his career has focused solely on basketball getting better, and it's shown. I mean, he's used the summer to get better in every capacity every summer. And he went from being a 3-and-D guy to, one of the 3 best players in the NBA. And, once you start to focus on the endorsements and the shoe contracts and the distractions and all these other things, it's just, you wonder if he comes back and he's the same player. And I think, the Spurs certainly questioned some of that too, which is why, the most underappreciated aspect of the story is the Spurs aren't offering him the Supermax. It's not like he's turning down the Supermax. The reason he wants out as adamantly as he does right now is because the Spurs have probably said to him, one, we want to deal with true representation. We don't want to be dealing with your uncle anymore. And two, we're not offering you the Supermax. And I think that's why he got so upset with the Spurs, because he's not going to further himself from his uncle. And I think he thought all negotiations with the Spurs start with the Supermax. So, the Spurs held firm on those two things. And they weren't going to offer him the Supermax, and they didn't want to deal with his uncle anymore. And so it'll be interesting to see what they can parlay that into for Kawhi Leonard.
Do you think that would be a risk, like a serious risk on the Spurs' part, if it is in part just not wanting to give him a Supermax? Now, it's a different situation, but I think back to like when OKC let Harden go to Houston. Now, that was just for a max deal, and I think at the time, the distance apart he and OKC still were in their offers and negotiations was like $5 million apart. Now, obviously, him doing a sign and trade to Houston got him way more money. He went from like the offer of $55 million that he wouldn't take from the Thunder and got like 80 with Houston. But the point I'm trying to get to here is basically trading a young rising star. I mean, Kawhi is already further along now than Harden was at the time. Is that something that's risking parting with like a major staple, probably the franchise building guy moving forward, just for not wanting to, I guess, meet him in that negotiation, like give him that Supermax?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, there's definitely a risk there. I mean, it's not really similar to Harden because Oklahoma City basically made their decision on Serge Ibaka over James Harden. They at the time they had those four guys that they thought were, transcendent players, and they had to get rid of one of them, and they thought that what James Harden did was easier to find than what Serge Ibaka did. And that guys like that had Serge Ibaka's skill set just weren't easy to find. And obviously in hindsight, they look foolish for that move. But, I think with the Spurs, look, I think they really did not like the way everything went down this year, and that like the feeling of we're not going to hand you this much money and potentially $50 million a year in the final year of the deal when we had to go through all of this year. And look, he could have signed the max deal with the Spurs and then asked for a trade after the first year of the deal. So I think they didn't want to risk any of that. And I mean, certainly they could look foolish. It's very likely that they do because this guy, the last time he played, was one of the three best players in the league and a legitimate MVP candidate. But the Spurs, they're one of the winningest franchises in pro sports. They're well run. You have to trust their decision making, despite the fact that it might look ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. If there's one franchise
and nobody's
that
bigger
is
than
sustained,
the franchise.
Yeah, if there's one organization that is sustained,
especially down in San Antonio.
Yeah, the Spurs have sustained success probably longer than any other American professional sports franchise, other than if you go NFL, maybe the Patriots. And in which case, it's even longer. Yeah, I knew it was close.
They've been pretty much in it since '99, since they got Tim.
I mean, how many 50-win seasons did they string together? It was something crazy, like 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah, 18 straight 51 seasons, and they won 48 this past year.
Yeah, I remember.
They've been in the playoffs
Mavericks were
every
there for
year
a while,
for
like 12.
they've been in the playoffs every year since 1999.
I think Mavericks are second in
Yeah, I remember what blew me away with that too. The Spurs 50-win season record was they even did it in a year there was a lockout shortened season. There was 66 games and they still won 50. I was like, damn it, guys.
Yeah.
Because I remember
they
like in
didn't
Dallas,
win 50 in '99 because there were only 50 games in 1999.
Oh, okay.
The year they won the title. The year they won the title in '99, their first title, it was a 50-game season.
Yeah.
So it's funny because that streak actually goes back to 2000.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I remember when Dallas.
So it was like every year since 2000, but '99 is their championship year. So it's kind of funny, right? Like as if that year was a bad year for them. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Let me check this setting here. Should be good. All right. So we are back. I'm going to try and get... we're here, guys. Rangers King. We're going to try and get Ari back on the call here.
Can you guys hear us, by the way?
They should be able to hear us. We got full signal going on here.
Cool.
We just had a brief technical thing there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Ari back on the line, and we're going to pick up where we left off.
Great insight.
Yeah, no, Ari is a fantastic guest to get on here.
Yeah, so he knows exactly what's going on. I want to kind of get his thoughts on pretty much free agency because he sounds like he's pretty plugged in with the whole league.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely is.
Get his thoughts.
Our mic is way louder now. Let me scale that back.
See if he sees anything coming through the grapevine. What he thinks about DeAndre to the Dallas Mavericks. Is he on?
Let's see. Do we got you, Ari? Not hearing Ari. We got you guys. The thing is going like we got... Oh, wait, hold on. I know what's happening. Hold on, Ari. I think you can hear me, but we can't hear you. It's the same thing that always happens. All right, we got Ari.
Technology.
All right, we're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you, Ari. They probably could have heard Ari, too. It was only us who couldn't hear Ari, so we're in the extra awkward mode right now. But, yeah, so we're back now. Slight technical glitch there, but we're good. So what were we in the middle of talking about at the time? Oh, I was saying how the Mavs were trying to skate by that year with the 66 games, briefly saying like, oh, well, the win percentage is all that really matters. As long as that translates to a 50-win season. They didn't even do that, so...
Nope.
Yeah, we know how Cuban likes to kind of spin things like that.
He's a salesman, so
yeah,
you couldn't even sell that one.
Definitely.
So hey, Ari, so I take you're pretty plugged in with the whole league. So give us kind of your general thoughts on how free agency is going so far.
I think, what the NFL, what the NBA has done is similar to the NFL, which is, create and infuse a ton of interest in the offseason. The NFL, the secret to the NFL success is, that one team can win a Super Bowl, but the 31 teams can win the offseason, so they sell optimism. And I think the NBA is doing that too. It obviously is harder to go, from worst to first, like in the NBA, like it is in the NFL. But they just set up their offseason perfectly to create spur interest at this time of year. Despite the fact that, that Houston got worse. They lost to Ariza, who's a very, very valuable player.
Yeah.
I think the Mavericks got a lot better. I love the deal for DeAndre Jordan. It's great to not get settled into a long-term deal. However, I am a bit worried because if best case scenario here this year for him in a contract year, what does that then mean for the Mavericks having to sign him long-term? If you sign him to a 3-year deal at $20 million per this year, it's hard to swallow. It's hard to swallow because it's 3 years. But what happens if he has a good year after this year? It's not like he's going to want. He's going to want less money. So
sure,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think it's a good idea. The strategy they've got, Harrison Barnes and Wes Matthews, and they've got some really significant 3-point shooters to space the floor around, Dennis Smith and Doncic, and now they've got a really athletic big that they could throw lobs to, that could rebound. Obviously, the Mavs were horrible rebounding last year, so I think the Mavs, they'll be competing there, in the, with San Antonio and with some of these other teams towards the 4, 5, 6 seed range in the Western Conference.
I think they're definitely taking a good step in that direction. I think DeAndre for them is almost like a stopgap kind of for now. They're wanting to just... I would have liked something like a 2-year deal with a player option or something like that.
Or a team option, you mean?
Yes, excuse me, team option. I would have liked something like that where they could have plugged them in, done the test ride, and still had the option to bring them back if they wanted. But I think I think for now they're just trying to find someone that kind of brings a little more energy and excitement to what they're doing. He'll pair great with Doncic and Dennis Smith Jr. and even JJ Barea is great at throwing lob passes. I mean, in 2014, that's all they did was throw lobs to Brandon Wright and Tyson. Yeah. So yeah, it would be great to have that again to that extent, and he'll give them some serious help on two of their greatest weaknesses last year, which was rebounding and general rim protection as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was a monster on the boards, but he has not been as good of a rim protector of late. I think he averaged less than a block per game last season.
Yep.
So, look, yeah, I mean, he's a stopgap, but I also think, a stopgap for what? For who? They don't have a first-round pick next year. And those kinds of players, DeAndre Jordan style, they're not just, growing on trees. So,
agreed.
I do like the addition of Jordan, and I do like that it's not a long-term deal, but I do wonder, best case scenario with him this year and what the Mavs do next offseason when he's even older.
Right.
And, and never underestimate the ability of a guy to outperform in a contract year, especially in a new city that, there's all the embarrassment from his standpoint on how it went down before. But I think the fit is perfect, as I said. I mean, it's, these are the kinds of players they need to surround Doncic and DSJ with, and so that's what they've done. They've got good shooting to space the floor, and then now a guy that is big and athletic and can play at the rim. So, I think it just makes sense from a fit standpoint, and it's going to be very interesting to see how a smart, schematic mind like Rick Carlisle will utilize it all.
Hey, so we have Ranger King 669. He has a question for you. Ari, should we go all in on Hazonia with the cap of what we have left or what we can create? Mario Hazonia from the Orlando Magic.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't think you can I don't think you can have enough shooters.
They definitely need some.
And just lost Dougie.
Right. I mean, and I'm trying to. I mean, they lost McDermott, but they could not. There's no way they could match that.
Nope.
Right.
There's no way.
None.
But I mean, you look and there were 5 guys, including McDermott, last year that shot 40% from three for the Mavs. And so that's important. That's where you're building this thing. So I mean, I think the short answer is yes. That's a really good wing player that can shoot. And I think age-wise he matches up very, very well with where they are. He's still he's younger, so you'd be but I wonder what the number is. And look, I'm not one that just says get rid of Wes Matthews because again he's been a 40% 3-point shooter the last couple of years. Now he wasn't healthy last year, and he's still coming off that major injury from a few years ago. But was it 2 years ago he played in 75 games and shot 40% from three?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think 6 threes a game.
Yes.
So I think you'd have to look long and hard at would we give up on a Wes Matthews in order to bring in Hazonia? Then maybe. But obviously it depends on the number.
Yeah.
And he's going to be sought after because guys that can shoot like he can. That's the way the NBA obviously works.
Yeah, we're seeing that the Knicks are interested in pursuing him. So. We'll try to keep eyes on that.
Yeah, the Knicks, within the last hour, it's been reported they're offering him a deal, so we'll see what that turns out to be. I'd also be interested in the
But
Mavericks.
I like where Ranger King's head's at because that's what they need, more shooters. That's how they should fill out the rest of the roster. Guys that can shoot. They just need to have tons of shooting. Space the floor.
The problem is the available players, there's not a lot of them that can shoot.
Yeah, definitely. I am interested in them bringing back Seth Curry, though.
Oh, yeah.
I think you could definitely get him at an affordable deal since he had to sit out all of last year, and he's never really stuck anywhere he's been in the past.
Yeah, where was he last? Was he here all year last year?
He was here. He had a stress reaction.
Sorry, Derek.
Sorry.
Sure.
He had a stress reaction in his leg and missed the whole year. He had to have surgery. So
that's a good call.
Yeah, he was on a, I think, 2-year deal with the Mavericks and, missed all of last year with an injury. But the year before, he was very good for them. I mean, that was a very irrelevant Mavs team, but when he was playing, and he had a stretch there for a while around, I want to say, late November to mid-January where he was just fire.
I think the Mavericks are even planning on starting him this year. They're going to move everyone down, especially with the whole move Dirk to center thing. It was going to be
their small ball lineup.
Seth, Wes, Barnes, and Dirk as our starting lineup. But we didn't get to see that because he got hurt. He's asking about Anthony Tolliver, Mike Scott. I mean, those are couple of good shooters left, and they're probably going to be a couple of affordable guys. What do you think about Michael Beasley for the Mavs and what that looks like? I know he shot 38% last year from three, but I mean, is he a head case, or I mean, how is that? Do you think it's going to work out for the Mavs if we were to pursue him?
How was he with Rick Carlisle before?
Michael Beasley?
Yeah.
He played with Carlisle before?
I don't think Beasley's played with Carlisle.
Beasley's a guy that has had some really good years. I mean, and really good stretches throughout the course of his career. He's played for so many teams. For some reason, I thought he had played for the Mavs, but I guess
he never played for the Mavs. I think.
Yeah, I think he was Houston at one point. Yeah, he's been all over the place since being the number 2 pick. But yeah.
I certainly wonder how he'd fit with Carlisle. But I think the way they fill out the rest of the roster is get guys that can shoot. The problem with some of these guys we're talking about now is it's a two-way league, and Beasley's has not been a great defender throughout the course of his career. And I mean, obviously you get guys that can shoot and score, and you're going to win a lot of games. But how you win in the playoffs is by having guys that can play both ways. And when you look at the playoffs every year, that's the one constant more than anything else is guys that can't defend they just pick and roll them to death until they have to take them off the floor. And so that's such a huge component of, and I mean, especially with Rick Carlisle, schematically, he wants his guys to defend, obviously. So, I think that's got to be an important component too of how they put the rest of the roster together is guys that they think can obviously shoot, but that aren't liabilities on the other end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is the challenge, is finding guys that can be two-way for you.
Shout out Rodney for bringing up Andre Blatch, who averaged 16.8 points a game over in China. That's fun.
Wow.
Yeah, age 31.
Age 31. Yeah, if you're in China,
if that's our
30
center,
points a game in China, you don't deserve to be in there anymore. All right. We got a fish bomb. Is what?
We still got you, Ari?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. There was just a static blip for a second there.
So we got a fish bomb.
Let's see. So Mike Fisher is saying the DeAndre Jordan deal is less than $24 million, and it hasn't said how much less.
Okay.
Interesting. So that would slightly change then how much cap room the Mavericks do have at that point. It's interesting it would be less than $24 million because that's what we were trying to acquire him for at the time and everything from the Clippers. So it'd be interesting to see how that cap figure works out. We know that they're probably going to end up giving Dirk something along the lines of like $4.4 million for his last year since he opted out to give them a little more flexibility. And Dirk, the quintessential team guy there, how many discounts has he given the Mavericks in the last 10 years?
Yeah,
I mean, really just since the title, he's been doing nothing but discounts.
Yeah, but he was paid pretty good.
Oh, yeah, no, he's one of the highest earners, certainly. But, yeah, I just mean he could have had tens of millions more if he'd really wanted it.
Somebody kick off K-Money off the chat. What is that? We should trade Dennis Smith Jr.?
None of that.
Get off the chat.
So, Ari, what
There's also rumors that Marcus Smart was in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And obviously,
that would have been
a guy that's from the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Flower Mound.
Yep, Flower Mound.
Flower Mound Marcus. Actually, our old school played against him. So we got to see him in high school, and then of course he went to Oklahoma State, which a lot of Flower Mound people go to.
And he's the kind of guy that the Mavs need. Just attitude. I mean, he's a really valuable player.
Yeah.
You talk about a guy that can play both ways, that can score at a lot of different spots. He's just a heady player, very smart player.
Yeah, I like the idea of having him a lot. It's just I wonder what the numbers would be to get him, and if that's something that Dallas wants to do. Because what I had heard was that they were interested for the right price, and usually when they say that, it's because they're wanting to lowball or something, or they're wanting him to not have a whole lot of interest. and that rarely works out with that situation. But yeah, a very interesting prospect as well. That's interesting to hear he was actually in town. Of course, he's from the general area, so I wonder how much of that is in town for a meeting versus in town to actually talk business or just be with the family. I mean, I just said the same thing twice.
Or just be home. Maybe he's hanging out with Philip Forte. He's really close with him. That's the only reason why he went to Oklahoma State, by the way, in case anyone knew. That was the only school that will give him a scholarship along with Philip Forte.
Interesting.
Why he went to.
Ari, is there another particular free agent you have any thoughts on or anything regarding? Well, this one wouldn't be a free agent, but like OKC and the Melo thing. The word is that they're going to try and either buy him out, stretch out that buyout, or try and trade him in some way. It'll be interesting to see how they do it. But what are your kind of thoughts on that and their whole gamble in general, how that kind of paid off for them?
I think Russell Westbrook is an amazing player, and I think what makes him great also probably makes him difficult. You really can't. He's an entire offensive ecosystem unto himself, so you can't scheme around him. Because if you try to call offensive sets, he's like a whirling dervish of basketball athleticism. So I mean, it's great, and you don't want to take that away from him because sometimes it's basketball nirvana, and then there are times where it's not. And so I think like what makes Westbrook great also kind of makes him not so great. And when it gets down to the nitty gritty of important possessions down the stretch, it's like they just don't have an offense because they can't, because Westbrook is an offense unto himself. So, I'm kind of surprised Paul George wanted to stick around knowing that. But, I certainly think they could be more evolved in year two. But, I mean, that's just what we've seen from them the last few years is Westbrook is just – he's his own thing. And you just – you almost feel bad for the coaching because you can't do anything around it, and nor should you, because that's if you don't want to neuter a guy that has that ability. But it just seems like it's not a title winning proposition.
Right. Yeah. It's. I mean, the thing with them, like I was kind of talking about earlier, their gamble I think worked off in a sense. Even in the case of like the Carmelo Anthony trade. There were questions about like, oh, well, I mean, clearly it's not Hoodie Melo they're getting, so that was a bust. I actually don't think it's a bust because when they acquired him, Paul George's immediate reaction was that he was impressed with that because it showed him that they would do whatever it took to make themselves, contenders, and that they would basically, they were willing to gamble a little bit. And he was impressed with that. And I think that just showing that, their willingness to do that, I think probably in some way contributed to his decision ultimately to stay. And then as far as the acquisition of him, people who pointed out, well, look what Victor Oladipo's doing in Indiana. Victor Oladipo wasn't going to do that in OKC. It's the Harden conundrum, and that's the thing when you have a couple ball dominant players. You can't pair that with Westbrook, who himself obviously is ball dominant. So Victor Oladipo is going to shine brighter there, just like Harden is shining brighter in Houston. But the move of acquiring George in the first place allowed you to get Russell Westbrook locked up for 5 years, and then getting Melo allowed you to keep Paul George for at least another 3. He's got a player option on that 4th year. So, I mean, in that regard, it all has worked out really well for them considering where they were 2 years ago when Durant walked out. But it will be interesting to see now if they can actually get into that upper kind of elite shelf of talent with the Golden States and Houston at this point, if they can be a real contender or if they're going to be kind of caught in that middle tier where they on paper sound good but just doesn't really translate. We've seen certainly super teams like that come and go over the years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, the funny thing about Melo is as bad as he was last year and as unplayable as he was at times, he had his ego checked, and he did certain things that you wouldn't expect him to do as far as take less shots and have less attention and, play in different lineups. And, so at the very least, he kind of, he changed his colors a little bit when it comes to, the reputation of him. And, obviously his offense, the numbers reflect that. The numbers reflect that he was getting less shots and that he was, that he wasn't, so he wasn't as efficient, he wasn't as effective. And, I mean, I still think he could be a great scorer. He's obviously not a two-way player. So, I mean, he's just the perfect fit for, like, Orlando or Sacramento or New York, teams that are just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how the Lakers, we mentioned this earlier too, Magic Johnson got, $500,000 fine for tampering with Paul George last offseason, and now this offseason he didn't even get a meeting with him.
Yeah.
that did not work out for them very well. But
incredible. I mean, if the Sixers make the move to get Kawhi and LeBron ends up going there, I mean, it's going to be craziness in La La Land.
That would be hysterical if that happened.
That would be actually funny.
Because the mere act of LeBron landing in L.A. yesterday brought out all the Laker fans screaming at the top of their lungs, "Championship 2019!" People say, I mean, for the NFL equivalent, people say Cowboy fans are entitled. Oh my God, man!
Oh, Laker fans, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, like every year you hear that they can get literally anybody that they want, and it's just insane to me that they just have that even after several years of being just trash. Their best season since Kobe left was 34 wins?
I don't know. I just know they haven't been the same since they got swept by the Mavs.
Yeah, 2011. Yeah, that was the last year they were relevant when they tried to go for the three-peat.
Nope. And he got destroyed.
So what do you think is going to happen with Clint Capella? I'm surprised we haven't seen somebody offer him a max yet, just because it's going to, with him being a restricted free agent, it's going to take a lot to pry him from Houston, and with them trying to supposedly pursue LeBron and just giving Chris Paul a max, it seems like that would be the way to kind of peel him away.
Yeah, I mean, I think Houston's sitting back and waiting for someone to sign him to an offer sheet, and I mean, Houston is not going to let Trevor Ariza walk to let Clint Capella walk too. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Especially, because they're not going to get LeBron. They're gonna max him worst case scenario, but I think they're kind of seeing what the market looks like and what the offer sheet will look like, and obviously the Rockets have the first right of refusal on that. So I'd be very, very surprised for Clint Capella to not be playing with the Rockets next year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you made as well on Ariza. He already walked to the Suns. I think it was 1 year, $15 million. So yeah, I was really excited about the potential of getting Clint Capella. Just even last week, before it became quite clear how dialed in the Mavericks were on DeAndre, even to the point where him opting out wouldn't change their pursuit of him. But that's a great young talent. I think he's like 24 years old and averaged something like 13 and 11 or 13 and 10, something like that last year, and like 2 blocks a game almost. So yeah, that's a fantastic young talent. And Houston, if they're smart, they will not let him go. They'll figure out some way to jump through a hoop to keep him. But
hopefully they won't try to lowball him, because no one's signing an offer sheet, so they're like, oh, well, we're not going to give him a max if we don't have to, so we can have room to more talent.
Yeah, that's interesting too. The question about someone asking in the chat why no one has signed him, like why the Mavericks didn't go after him. I think again they dialed in on DeAndre, and obviously if you do put in a bid on a guy, your money is tied up on that player for the 3-day review. Yeah, it used to be a week. That was the 2015 DeAndre thing.
No, that was the more okay. So the DeAndre thing was like a moratorium period. So when free agency opens up, you can verbally agree to a deal, but no one can put pen to paper for a week.
Yeah.
Now because of DeAndre Jordan reneging on his verbally committed deal, they changed the moratorium. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, to 3 days. So it's not signing restricted.
So if a restricted free agent signs with one team, what's the cap?
I
Still
think
3
it's
days?
either 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Once the offer sheet has been signed.
Is that right, Ari? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
So I was incorrect there, which I accept. I have no problem being
now
wrong.
I seem smarter because Ari.
Yes, Ari.
He agreed with what I said.
Yes, he did.
Yes. Appreciate that, man.
But the point I was trying to make was just that it ties up your money if you're the team bidding on a restricted free agent.
Right.
You can't do anything with that money because it is committed to the player, and you can have a situation where while that money is tied up, the other team ends up matching, but you can't go get someone else, so your backup plans could fall off the board before you even get the chance to go after them. And that was part of the DeAndre thing, too, during that moratorium, was that their plan B and C fell off the board before they even... we
lost Tyson.
Before it even happened. I think Tyson was already done with us. People have asked about why I didn't put Tyson in the video. we twice brought in Tyson for a 1-year deal last year of his deal, told him that we basically were going to extend him in the offseason, give him a new contract. The title one was the really unforgivable one, but both times we basically were like, ooh, younger center who's on the upswing still. Go after him. Go after Dwight. Okay, that didn't work. And then we brought Tyson back, and it's like, ooh, DeAndre Jordan. I mean, when that happened, I'm pretty sure, I swear I remember reading some quote from him where he basically was almost like laughing in Phoenix, saying like, yeah, they deserve it pretty much.
He participated in the emoji war.
Yeah, yeah.
His was like
the crying laughing face or something.
No, it was a black sun. I think it was just a black sun. Because that's when he signed with the Suns.
Gotcha.
Like that. Or I didn't know if he added anything to it. It was
right. But
history.
yeah,
so
Tyson, to me, it doesn't even matter if the Mavericks were in. By the way, at this point, I don't want to go after Tyson.
No.
Even if you, unless you're putting him in literally Kendrick Perkins locker room leader, don't ever play role.
Did they sign?
Yeah, they gave Perkins a new deal.
Oh my god!
But yeah, I wouldn't want Tyson for that. And even if we did want him, no way would Tyson come back to us. He hates the Mavericks leadership. Like, he likes the city, I think, and the fans and the players. I think he is so done with Cuban and Donnie Nelson. It's not even funny.
All right, Ari, let's talk LeBron. If you're a betting man, where would you say LeBron James ends up?
You know, I always thought it was going to be the Lakers. I thought that was where he always wanted to go. But, you know, I also said during the season I thought he'd end up with Houston. So I guess I don't really know anything. But, yeah, I mean, I thought it would, you know, be a situation where, you know, maybe he doesn't get guys to commit, but that ultimately if LeBron goes to Lakers, then he'll get other guys that want to go there, right? I mean, it's a if you build it, they will come kind of proposition. But,
yeah.
Do you think
I think there's interest, I'm sure, for him to play with Kawhi Leonard. You know, and I think there should be interest for Kawhi Leonard to play with LeBron because that, you know, Kawhi's being mute would be less important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a guy like that, in the case of LeBron, could probably even help keep kind of Kawhi in check. Although I guess with Kyrie, that didn't really end up happening. But
I mean, he would defer. He'd be allowed to sort of defer, you know, as he does now with the media. But if he's the face and the main player, then it's more difficult for him. I mean, it'd be very interesting to see if Philadelphia can get the deal done, and especially, you know, if it's basically Philadelphia or the Lakers chasing both Kawhi and LeBron. And if you get Kawhi, you get LeBron. You know, I think it would basically take Ben Simmons for Philadelphia to have a better deal than the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment there.
I lost my next question. I lost my train of thought. LeBron to Philly. Oh, that was my next question. All right, so hey, if let's say you're the GM, or if you're a GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, I have a theory out there saying that I would not want LeBron James to come to Philly if I'm looking at it from a Philly perspective, simply because I've seen good players because of their roles becoming diminished that they're not as good. Like we saw with Kevin Love back when he was with Minnesota, he was basically a 20-20. That's funny. He was basically a 20-20 guy, 20 points, 20 rebounds. We saw that with Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was probably, you know, one of the best power forwards in the game when he was with Toronto, and he teamed up with LeBron. He, you know, essentially became a joke when he was with the Heat. People were making jokes,
but he definitely went from being like
I'm talking in
in
terms of like NBA Twitter. He was definitely a joke.
Okay.
He wasn't as respected as he was back when he was in
Toronto. Yeah.
Do you think that can be kind of like a syndrome with LeBron? I think I would want my young players who we have a chance to be big building blocks for the future of a franchise to see if we want to try to put together a dynasty like we're seeing with the Warriors. I think, you know, going after LeBron and necessarily breaking that down just so we could, you know, experience immediate success for the next couple of years. I don't think I would want that. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I get it, but I also wouldn't turn down a chance for LeBron without, I mean, just period. There's no downside, in my opinion, to having LeBron. I mean, I get exactly what you're saying. You could stunt the growth of some of your players, but I don't care. You know, LeBron's the best player on the planet. It's not even close. With him, they're immediately the they're going to win the East, and it's not even just the favorites. Like, they're going to win the East, and that's a considerably better squad than the East teams that have been winning it with LeBron. So, look, I think it would be interesting to see how Brett Brown would mold their offense and defense schematically. But yeah, I understand your feeling on the downside, and it certainly would have diminishing returns from the growth and development of players. But I also just don't care. It's about winning championships, and you are immediately able to win a championship as soon as you add LeBron. So you do it, and yeah, you're going to be stunting your growth, but that's okay. I mean, that's fine if you add LeBron, because growth isn't as important as winning championships. So it would be interesting to see how they'd make it work. I'd be very interested to see what they would do schematically.
Well, if LeBron is willing to play off ball, I mean, he's not the best shooter in the world, but I guess.
I mean, he would kind of need to be off ball because Ben Simmons isn't a shooter anyway.
Yeah.
So if LeBron's off ball, that is the better combination of that, rather than LeBron being ball dominant and Simmons being off ball.
Yeah. So it would be.
Well, I mean, imagine like a LeBron, Joel Embiid pick and roll.
That would be pretty nasty.
Right. So
that would be pretty impressive. It would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely lots of things might go down. I mean, hey, I proposed a question at the beginning of our show, and I want to get your take on it. What's a better off-season event? You got the NFL draft or the NBA free agency period. What do you think is better?
Like more exciting,
more entertaining.
What was that? I'm sorry, you were breaking up. What was the question?
What is the better off-season event? The NFL draft or NBA free agency? That's a good question.
Probably NBA free agency.
Boom.
Yeah,
probably NBA free agency.
Yeah, that was our thinking too. With free agency, especially if you got a good class of free agents, it's just pandemonium as soon as it hits midnight, and especially the first couple days. I mean, you just have constant big developments happening. It seems like now this is a little bit of a top-heavy free agency class, but even still, I mean, we had tons of news breaking last night.
I think
right
something
before
like 19 deals within like the first hour and a half.
Right, and that's something that even though the NFL draft is exciting every year, I don't think it matches that level of kind of pandemonium excitement. So, yeah, I agree with that entirely. But the NBA's got to have something. Its draft certainly doesn't hold up the interest of the NFL draft.
No, exactly. Yeah, just want to get your thoughts on that. We have other questions. Wait, is that a question?
We got time for a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up and let you go, Ari. I know you're pretty busy and everything lately.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's hear it.
Let's see.
If CP3 and Harden play together, LeBron.
We're looking through the comments.
Oh. No, I don't think LeBron's going to.
Okay, I got one for you. Do you think that for the Mavericks, the combination of Dennis Smith and Luka Doncic can be kind of like a Chris Paul, James Harden type setup like you have in Houston? Do you think it can be like that kind of cohesive unit as far as how well they play together, despite being two guys that typically have the ball a lot?
Well, I mean, I think it's a different dynamic. I mean, Doncic can play the 1, the 2, the 3. Carlisle seems to think he can even play with the 4, but I don't think they will. And Doncic's offensive game, like, he can play at a low block really well. He's got some fantastic post moves. So I mean, you leverage that to play against 2s and 3s that you're bigger than. So I think Doncic is probably better off the ball, and I think you'd rather have Dennis Smith at point, Doncic off the ball than vice versa. But they're going to do a lot of the other as well. But yeah, I mean it works, especially if you go back and look at some film from the national team with Dragic, with he and Dragic when they won Eurobasket. It was Doncic and Dragic in the same backcourt, and they just played. I mean, just watching how they used them both on the ball, off the ball. Especially when they got Doncic against younger, smaller players that he could school inside. I mean, he's just such a skilled offensive player at just 19 years old. Has such evolved post game. So I think in many ways you want probably Doncic off the ball more, just because he's so good at attacking in different spots. And I think, obviously Dennis Smith is just such a productive player with the ball in his hands. So, I mean, I don't know if it's similar to Chris Paul, James Harden, or if it's just kind of its own thing. But, I thought for people that felt like, well, why would you draft another point guard? You have to just draft a point guard. Well, it's not, it's just not that simple. Those are guys that can play well off each other, especially, again, when you surround him with a bunch of shooters that can space the floor.
Okay, yeah, I agree. That's a very, very good in-depth answer there.
That made me really excited because you said Dennis Smith would be on the ball, Luke would be off the ball. But anyway, my man Ranger King 669, he's asking, and he wants that before he asks, he wants to let you know he already knows that this guy's old, but Anthony Tolliver, he's a good shooter. Do you think
he'll be
a good
too.
fit? Yeah, real cheap too. Do you think he'll be a good fit for the Mavs?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it just goes back to guys that can shoot the floors, can shoot, space the floor. That's how they should fill out the rest of their roster. I'm not too well. I don't really know Tolliver's defensive acumen or his ability defensively. Off the top of my head, it doesn't seem like he's been a productive defensive player.
I don't think so as well.
I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I mean, again, I think that's how they fill out the rest of the roster is, guys that can create space so that Dennis Smith and Doncic can operate, and they have that. I mean, they already have that now, and they can only just build on that.
Yeah, I think that's they definitely need to do something more with the front court as well. Because right now, what are the other front court options for them? They have Kleber right now. Not seeing anything on that. Someone in the chat saying LeBron to Philly. I think that's more him saying wishfulness as opposed to breaking some kind of news.
Yeah, we're also seeing that some NBA execs believe that LeBron has already decided to go to LA.
He's stretching it out for theater.
Exactly. Basically just making it look like other teams have a chance.
Yeah, so all we know of is that LeBron's people are set to meet with Philly. That his reps are. He will not be in attendance, though. So, all right.
We shall see.
Well, I think that'll pretty well wrap up the show here. Ari, thank you, of course, for coming on and joining us. Great insight, as always.
Okay, can you go ahead and plug in for the people on the chat? Can you plug in where they can find your stuff? Because I know you do some good stuff with FANTOM.
Yeah, appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Ari Sports, ARI Sports, and check out the page at facebook.com/watch FANTOM. I stream every day at noon, and I'm also moving to Dallas in a few weeks, and I'll be working with the fan, 105 through the fan in Dallas. So check me out there as well.
Full time or just on weekends?
I'll be doing some different things. I'll be doing some different things. Doing some part-time fill-in work, and then some other things during Cowboy season as well.
Got some drive time, morning drive shift coming up, right? I think July. I think is. Yeah,
the week. I believe the 2 weeks. The week of the 16th, and then the following week morning drive as Sean and RJ take their vacations, so at different times. So yeah, I'll be getting different shifts throughout the day, and then we'll have some hopefully some news to make public here in the next few weeks about other things I'll be doing.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
Appreciate you for jumping on board.
Yeah, we'll be sure to have you on again sometime in the future here. It's always great to talk with you.
I appreciate it very much, guys. Be well.
All right,
thanks.
Peace out.
Later, Ari.
All right, Mavs fans, we have a signing. Woo! The Mavs have signed Salah Mejri to a deal. Woo! Hey, man, he's a good backup, though.
There you go. Hey, for the sake of my second video where I addressed Salah Mejri with less than enthusiasm, I clarified in the video that was if he was going to be your starter. I was super less than enthused. I said that is the fastest way to keep that top 5 pick. But yes, as a backup, yeah, I like him as a backup. I mean, man, I saw this and it blew my mind. The most minutes per game he's ever played in a season is 12.4 2 years ago.
Lord have mercy.
That was a horrible Mavericks team, and he couldn't get more than 12.5 minutes a game. But yeah, so a little bit of Mavericks news for you there. But that's gonna wrap up our time, guys. I will actually have one more show here later today, a brief one at around 7 o'clock with Big Game James of Silver and Blue Nation. That one will probably be a more NBA scatter shooting in general as well, but we'll talk Mavs. I know he's a Mavs guy. And who knows, maybe we'll have some more free agency news to talk about that'll be fresh and relevant. Otherwise, I will have to work very hard to avoid a retread. But yeah, Enyi, do you want to tell them where they can find some of your stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Enyi Nduka _DP. My name is spelled ENYINDUKA _DP for Dallas Prospects. You can find me on Facebook. I really don't post anything on there.
You got stuff on the site too. Anytime we do a podcast,
Yes.
I post it to the site, and I always put it under your name because this may not officially be the Sports Anytime show yet, but as we start doing it more consistently, we will revive your old sports talk show.
Yeah. For Rangers, I keep on about to say
Rangers King.
Rangers King. It was Mark Stein that reported that, so you can look up his tweets.
We don't know how much yet. We just know there's a new contract.
It better be for vet minimum.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, guys, don't forget to check out the Dallas Prospect on Twitter at Dallas Prospect. Also, you can check us out on Facebook as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And
check out the site as well.
Yes.
TheDallasProspect.com.
Yep, TheDallasProspect.com. Your home for Dallas sports and all things pop culture. Other than that, if you really love us, support us on Patreon. And remember, guys, every legend was once a prospect.